Welcome back to the Ancestral Findings podcast. Before the name America meant a nation, it was a promise whispered among families who longed for peace, land, and the freedom to worship without fear. England in the early 1600s was a land of both beauty and unrest. Fields of barley rolled beneath castle ruins, and church bells still marked the hours, but the air carried unease. The old ways were changing. Many who left did not flee disaster but drifted toward possibility. They came from small villages, carrying little more than a Bible, a few tools, and the courage to face the endless gray of the Atlantic. This is one family's story, the Clarks of Kent, told through the letters they wrote and the ones they never sent. Their journey was one of faith, endurance, and discovery, carried forward by generations who would one day call themselves something new, Americans. The letters of William Clark were discovered folded neatly inside a family Bible, its pages worn thin by centuries of use. The ink had faded, but his words still breathed life. This first letter, dated March of 1635, was written from Kent, England, a farewell to the brother he would never see again. Letter 1. Kent, England, March 1635. My dearest brother John, the last frost still lies over the hedgerows, and yet I find myself packing our things as if spring were already here. The children are restless, asking what America looks like. I tell them it must be like England, but wilder and grander, where the woods stretch farther than sight, and no lord claims the fields. Alice has folded our lives into a single chest, 2 pewter cups, my tools, her mother's spoon, and the small Bible Father left me. It is not much, but enough to begin again. You will have heard by now that I've signed our names with the Massachusetts Bay Company. Passage is dear, but we have sold our cottage and the field behind it to pay for it. I will miss the sound of the Maidstone bells on Sunday, though the parson says I am better gone, for I have grown too sharp of tongue. The new bishop takes little mercy on men who question his rule. Do not think us foolish, John. We go not in anger, but in hope. They say there is land for any man who will till it, and peace for those who live faithfully. The sea frightens me, yet the thought of staying frightens me more. I will write again from the ship if I can. Tell Mother I shall plant an oak in her honor. When it grows tall, I will think of her hands in the soil back home. Your loving brother, William Clark. That was the beginning, one family among thousands, standing at the edge of a future they could not yet see. The next letter was written weeks later, aboard the ship True Love, a cramped wooden vessel filled with hopes, prayers, and fear. Letter 2, aboard the True Love, May 1635. Dear John, the sea is endless. For 6 weeks we have known nothing but its gray face and the wind's temper. The ship groans like an old beast, and the smell of tar and damp wood fills every breath. We sleep where we can. The children curl beside Alice under our cloaks. The lantern swings with the waves, throwing shadows that make the timbers seem alive. The food spoils faster than the sailors promised. Salted meat, hard biscuits, and water that tastes of the barrel. Still, we thank God for every sunrise. There are families aboard who pray aloud each night. Others curse the voyage. A boy from Devon died of fever yesterday. The sailors wrapped him in his blanket and spoke the 23rd Psalm before sliding him into the sea. His mother's cries have not stopped. When the storms come, we are told to stay below. The sound is like thunder trapped inside a drum. The ship pitches, barrels break loose, and the children cling to Alice's skirts, whispering verses they barely know. I keep one hand on the beam and the other on the chest that holds our Bible and tools, our only anchor if the ship turns. And yet, when the storm clears, the air smells clean again, and the sea shimmers with a light I have never seen on land. Sometimes dolphins follow our wake, leaping through the foam as if guiding us onward. I choose to take that as a sign that God's hand still steadies this ship. If we reach America, I will write again. Your brother, William. The next letter came 2 years later, written from the Massachusetts Bay Colony, where the Clarks had survived their first winter and carved a life out of the wilds. The paper is rough, the ink darker, and the words more certain. Letter 3. Dorchester, Massachusetts Bay Colony, October 1637. Dear John, we have survived, though we have been tested in every way. We arrived in midsummer of last year, thin as shadows. The land smelled of pine resin and salt, and when we first saw it, Alice fell to her knees and wept. Boston is but a cluster of timber houses and a meeting house on a hill, yet the air here feels lighter. No lords, no bishops, only the voice of the congregation. We were welcomed by other settlers who arrived years before, some from Essex, others from London. They speak of hardship, but also of freedom. I have built barrels for merchants who trade furs and timber back to England. In return, I earn corn, fish, and cloth. We built our own house near a bend in the river. It has a dirt floor and a roof that leaks when it rains, but it is ours. When the children laugh, it almost sounds like home. Winter is cruel here. The cold seeps through the walls and the wind howls like a living thing. We lost 2 goats and nearly our courage before spring returned. Still, each thaw feels like a promise kept. We worship every Sabbath in a small meeting house where the men and women sit apart. The sermons are long but kind. No one watches us for disobedience. There are moments when I forget the sound of the old church bells in Kent. Tell Mother her oak tree grows strong. I planted it by the riverbank. When the wind bends it, I think of her voice calling us in for supper. Your loving brother, William. Time passed, and the ink of William's hand began to fade. The colony he helped build grew from a fragile settlement into a living town. His final letter wasn't meant for England at all. It was written for his son, a message left behind, folded into the same Bible that had crossed the ocean with him. Letter 4, Dorchester, 1671, to my son Thomas. My days grow shorter now, and I feel the cold more keenly than before. The river still sings at night, though my hearing fades. When I came here as a young man, I thought the wilderness would always seem foreign, but now I cannot imagine any other home. Never forget that we came from Kent. Though you were born here, that land is in your blood. Speak its name with care. Remember the prayers your mother taught you when we were still new to this place? I have left a letter folded inside the Bible, the first I ever wrote to your uncle. I never sent it, for there was no ship I trusted enough to carry it home. Keep it there. Let our story stay bound in those pages where the Word and our journey meet. Your father, William Clark. A century later, another Clark would open that same Bible. His name was Jonathan, and the world he lived in was ready to be remade once again, not by leaving England, but by breaking from it. Letter 5, Boston, 1775. To any who shall one day read these words, my name is Jonathan Clark, great-grandson of William of Kent. The Bible that crossed the sea with him lies beside me now. Its pages are thin, its cover cracked, and yet it endures. The world he helped build has changed beyond all measure. The colonies that once bent to England's rule now rise against it. I march tomorrow with the militia at Lexington. We seek the same freedom our forefathers crossed the sea to find, though now we must defend it with arms instead of faith. When I open my great-grandfather's letters, I smell the sea, the same salt air that carried him from home. I can almost see him standing on the docks with his wife and children, the wind lifting his hair, the ship creaking as it took them west. He sought peace. I seek liberty. Both are born of the same longing, to live as one's conscience demands. If I fall, may someone keep this Bible safe. It holds not only God's Word, but the story of how we became who we are. Jonathan Clark. Jonathan's letter survived the Revolution. Years later, a descendant named Elizabeth found it while turning the brittle pages of that same Bible. A relic by then, heavy with history and love. Letter 6, New Hampshire, 1848. Dear Cousin Sarah, I send you this letter with a copy of the Clark family Bible now nearly 200 years old. It contains the letters you asked about. I have read them all. William's words from the sea, his talk of the wind and faith and the endless water. I wept to think of what they endured. We live in a world they could scarcely imagine. Railways carry people farther in a week than William could have dreamed in a lifetime. But I wonder if we have lost something they possessed. The quiet courage to begin again. The oak tree that William planted still stands by the river, though it leans now. When the wind moves through its branches, it sounds like the tide he once crossed. If you visit, I will show you where its roots have cracked the old stones. It is as if England herself still whispers through them. Your cousin, Elizabeth Clark. And so the story ends where it began. With England's voice carried across the ocean, finding its way into new generations. 6 voices, 6 lifetimes, one unbroken story of leaving, building, remembering, and passing on. The letters of the Clark family are more than words on paper. They are fragments of history carried forward through faith, endurance, and memory. In their handwriting, we see the shape of an entire era, the courage to leave the known, the patience to endure hardship, and the grace to build something lasting from wilderness. Each generation added its own line to the story. William's faith, Jonathan's fight for liberty, Elizabeth's remembrance. Together they speak not only for one family, but for thousands who crossed from England to the New World, bound by the same thread of hope. To read their journey is to feel the heartbeat of a world being born. One letter, one prayer, one voyage at a time. Do you have ancestors who came from England? Perhaps your family has letters, journals, or stories passed down through generations, just like the Clarks. Share your family's journey and memories in the comments on YouTube or Facebook, and join others exploring their English roots as part of Journeys of Our Ancestors. Every shared story helps preserve the past and keeps these voices alive for future generations. If you've got a hard-to-find ancestor you're stuck on, I'd love to hear about it. Just head over to ancestralfindings.com and click on Contact to send me a message. While you're there, take advantage of our free weekly genealogy lookups. Explore thousands of articles and enjoy hundreds of podcast episodes. We've been helping family history researchers since 1995. And if you're looking for even more, check out our Genealogy Gold Q&A series over on Patreon. Thanks for listening, and as always, happy searching.